PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds is a game in constant flux thanks to the addition of new vehicles, modes, maps, and weapons. For those looking to dominate this popular battle royale title, understanding the statistics of each gun or armor piece can give you an advantage. Thankfully, developer Bluehole Studios has released a new balance patch that details all of these important alterations. Originally announced on April 21 in a blog post, readers were informed that certain items such as assault rifles and level 3 helmets would be rebalanced. One of the biggest issues that PUBG is facing revolves around players picking specific assault rifles over others in the same archetype. Instead of being driven by personal preference, users would pick specific weapons because they were objectively better. In addition to the various rifles, attachments also received a reworking to make them more balanced. The goal of this patch is to eliminate the idea that a single weapon or attachment is a must-have for players. Level 3 helmets also saw a notable change, as the developers viewed this specific item as a second life. Being able to survive a perfect sniper shot to the head certainly constitutes the idea of escaping death. While they aren't removing the helmet entirely from PUBG, it will now only drop via care packages. The big news is, of course, the addition of the new DMR weapon, the SLR. This gun uses 7.62mm rounds and can be found on both maps. It carries 10 bullets per magazine and can be found on both of the maps. This looks like a nice hybrid between an assault rifle and a sniper, which will help with those who prefer long-range combat but still struggle with accuracy. Keep in mind these changes are only for the test server right now and are subject to alterations. Here's the complete PUBG weapon balance patch. Weapon. You can find the specific changes below. Weapons: ARs, rebalanced ARs, so none is the objective best. The power differential between each is now reduced, but each brings advantages to different situations. SMGs, adjusted them to be more effective in short-range combat. Shotguns, increased overall damage and effective range. Pistols, increased the damage of the P92, P1911, P18C, R1895, and R45. Shotguns, increased limb shots modifier. Shooting limbs now does more damage, slightly decreased the damage of the S686 and S1897. Reduced pellet spread by 25%. Shotgun chokes can now be attached to the sawed-off SMGs. Increased limb shots modifier, slightly increased the damage of the Micro Uzi, UMP9, and Vector. Decreased vertical recoil on all SMGs. Decreased recoil and scope sway when moving in adds, aiming down sights. Increased adds transition speed. ARs, slightly decreased the damage of the M16A4, SCAR-L, August, and M416. Increased reload time by 30% for the SCAR-L, M16A4, and M416. Increased reload time by 10%. For the AKM, increased vertical and horizontal recoil for all ARs except the AKM. Decreased recoil recovery rate for all ARs. Restricted big scopes, 8x and up, for use with all ARs. Added new recoil animations for all ARs. DMRs, increased head, body, and limb shot modifier. Decreased the damage of the SKS, slightly increased the damage of the VSS and Mini 14. Increased vertical and horizontal recoil for all DMRs. Decreased the recoil recovery rate for all DMRs. Added new recoil animations for all DMRs. Other guns, slightly increased the damage of the DP28 and M249. Restricted big scopes, 8x and up, for use with LMGs. DP28, M249, reduced crossbow reloading time from 4 seconds to 3.5 seconds. Weapon sway has been adjusted for all weapons, slightly increased side-to-side movement, and sway is now more pronounced when holding your breath. Weapon sway when moving is now also reduced by the cheek pad attachment. Cheek pads now help you recover from weapon sway more quickly after moving. Throwables, frag grenades, increased explosion damage and added new hit effects and animations. Previously, grenade damage was greatly dependent on fall damage from the grenade's knockback effect, rather than explosion. We've removed the grenade's knockback effect for player characters, and have adjusted it so that only explosion damage is applied when you're struck by a grenade. Weight changes. All throwables, frag grenade, increased from 12 to 18. Molotov cocktail, decreased from 18 to 16. Smoke grenade, decreased from 16 to 14. Stun grenade, decreased from 14 to 12. Character movement. We've slightly decreased the movement speed when holding SRs, LMGs, M249, DP28, and shotguns. Your equipped weapon affects both your sprinting speed and your running, normal movement, speed. We've removed the first shot delay when your character is not sprinting, chambering a new round in certain weapons, M24, Kar 98K, S1897, etc. It no longer limits you to walking speed while aiming down sights. The amount your camera shakes after being shot, aim punch, now depends on the amount of damage received. Other item balance. Level 3 helmets now only spawn in care packages, and one is guaranteed to be in every care package. Both senior quick draw magazines and senior extended quick draw magazines now spawn only in care packages. We've reduced the spawn rate for our extended quick draw magazines. DMRs now use our attachments, magazines, compensators, etc. along with senior attachments. Adrenaline syringes now spawn rarely alongside normal loot in the game world. Adjusted the casting time of adrenaline syringe from 8 seconds to 6 seconds. Gameplay. Along with all the balance changes, we're introducing a new weapon, a new vehicle for Miramar, and a ton of new weapon attachments. New weapon added: the SLR, a weapon previously announced under a different name in the roadmap, www.playbattlegrounds.com. The SLR will be spawned alongside normal world loot. It's a DMR which uses 7.62mm ammo and contains 10 bullets per magazine, 20 bullets when extended. The SLR is more powerful than the SKS but has more recoil. Recoil control is the key to using the SLR effectively. New vehicle: the Murado is a classic muscle car, a fast, 4-seat sedan that's limited to Miramar. It can be found around downtown areas and main city streets. Think of the Murado as a complement to the other unique vehicles on Miramar. The van is extremely sturdy, but slow and ineffective when taken off-road. The pickup is great for off-road travel, and the Murado is the fastest way to blaze down a highway. New attachments: duckbill, a new attachment for shotguns, S1897, S12K. It reduces the vertical pellet spread but increases horizontal bullet spread. Attachable to S1897, S12K. Light grip, it reduces recoil recovery time but increases vertical and horizontal recoil. Attachable to ARs, SMGs, DMRs, UMP9, August, M416, SCAR-L, SKS. Thumb grip, it reduces vertical recoil but increases horizontal recoil. It also increases the recoil recovery time. Attachable to ARs, SMGs, DMRs, UMP9, August, M416, SCAR-L, SKS. Half grip, it reduces vertical and horizontal recoil and also reduces recoil recovery time. Attachable to ARs, SMGs, DMRs, UMP9, Vector, August, M416, SCAR-L, SKS. Scope 3x, this scope has fixed 3x magnification with an illuminated reticle. It's discoverable as a common world drop item. Scope 6x, this scope has variable 3x-6x magnification. It's discoverable as a rare world drop item. You can now change the reticle style and color on the red dot, hollow sight, and 2x scope using the scope zeroing keys. Page up, page down by default. Boat and swimming adjustments. Boats now sink when destroyed. We've made some adjustments to the way swimming works to reduce the effectiveness of hiding underwater. We've decreased the maximum submersible time from 35 to 15 seconds. Once you've run out of air, you'll now take 10 damage per second, up from 4 damage per second. We've increased the delay for breath recovery time from 1 to 4 seconds. In other words, when you lift your head up out of the water, it'll now take 4 seconds before you begin to recover your breath. Map selection and main menu UI. Map selection is now available. Pick just one map, Erangel or Miramar, on its own to guarantee you'll play there. If you select multiple maps, the game will randomly drop you into one of the selected maps. As we discussed in the map selection announcement devlog, we may revisit the design of this feature as additional maps are added. We'll keep you updated if changes are made. We've also improved the UI for team mode and perspective selection. As before, only the host can select these options. Settings. We've added an option to adjust vertical mouse sensitivity. We've added an option to change the hotkey for reporting a player during kill or spectating. Our key world. We've made more improvements to Miramar. We've increased the size of the oasis and added more buildings nearby. We've added extra farming points by placing small building sets near various cities and towns. We've reduced the number of buildings in some city areas to cut down on excessive building density. We've removed some excessive cover points, rocks, drums, boxes, inside various cities and towns. We've added more objects like trees and rocks throughout the map to provide some additional options for cover in wide open spaces. The interiors of certain buildings have been simplified. Bug fixes. We reduced some overly dramatic collision effects, space shuttle takeoffs, that occurred when the motorbike crashed into other vehicles. We fixed an issue that would sometimes prevent you from hopping off of the motorbike after it had fallen down when players move and shoot at the same time. Bullet shells should now fall to the ground and remain there, instead of chasing the player like hella scary demon bullets. The timer For the final blue zone should now display correctly. We fixed an issue that was muting the blue zone sound effects for player who left and rejoined a game. We resolved an issue that sometimes allowed you to adjust your camera to see through the ceilings of the school on Miramar. Certain problematic terrain elements, which caused weird collisions or movement on Orangle and Miramar, have been fixed. We've fixed an issue that was causing some curtains on Orangle to be impenetrable. We've fixed some abnormal orange lighting effects in buildings on Orangle. We've resolved some strange collision problems that were affecting character models and bullet cartridges. Walking on wooden structures will no longer create bizarre or out-of-place footstep noises. Prone characters should no longer improperly clip into the ground. We've resolved an issue that sometimes limited movement after using emotes and the quantity pop-up window at the same time. Text on amp skin from the Equinox crate labeled the gun as 45 SCP instead of 9mm. Thanks to the power of memes, this has now been fixed. Weapon ammo is now counted as loaded when the magazine or bullet is inserted into the weapon, rather than when the animation finishes. There's obviously a lot to unpack here, but it's cool that Bluehole Studios are adding in a faster car for Miramar. Given the van is usually the last result, having an additional option to traverse the desert is really nice. Speaking of Miramar, the changes to the actual map are exactly what it needed. Adding more cover to the open areas should alleviate some of the frustrations caused when the safety circle doesn't end in a major city. While the ARs were nerfed, we doubt it will shake up the meta too much. We might see people use the Mini 14 more or SMGs in close range, but nothing too dramatic. This wasn't meant as a massive shift but simply tweaking the numbers. It is strange that shotguns had their damage nerfed despite being very inconsistent already on the battlefield. What will cause a more dramatic change is the new attachments that are introduced. The 3x scope is a fantastic addition that was desperately needed, especially if its drop rate is high. 4x and 8x scopes began to feel like the rarest items in the game, so it's nice that 2 more variations have been added. The reticle changes are also smart since many have their own preferences for gauging long-range combat. Adrenaline syringes being added into the world makes sense, but we question the buff to the frag grenade's explosive damage. It already did a ton and this might have been a bit too much. Remember, these are all currently live on the test server and are subject to change. It's possible certain aspects get scaled back or adjusted before moving to the final version of PUBG. See also discuss on Facebook.